6:06, and we'll start with the agenda. Approval of the agenda, additions, deletions, whatever. Did you find the copy of the agenda, Ryan?
I was just checking my email now to see if I don't have a GRCSU email set up yet. I'm using my Gmail still, so I don't have the agenda for this evening. No,
Ryan, you should have had. They sent you a link a couple times that has all the log information with that, because we've been sending you things to your GRCSU, so you're in the system. So I don't know if we.
Okay, I just don't know how to access it. I haven't seen any emails come through about that.
I'll have one of our tech guys reach out to you tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be great.
To walk through it. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I think Amanda's having that same problem from what she told me.
She's not getting her GRCSU emails?
Yeah, last time I talked to her, she said that she's reached out and it keeps getting forwarded on to the tech department, but she hasn't gotten anything to her personal email. But I know she has an account because I've sent stuff there.
What we're trying to do is all GRCSU official information should go through our GRCSU emails, not personal emails. So we're transitioning over to that. So if Amanda's having an issue, she needs to just have her contact me, and I'll speak with Greg and Milt right away. Okay. Yep. And Ryan, I'll send Greg a message right now. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
So, any additions or changes to the agenda?
Nope. I'll move to approve the agenda.
Is there a second to approving the agenda?
I can second it. I still haven't seen it yet, but I can second it.
All right. Seconded by Ryan. Any discussion or questions? We'll get those. Chris will deal with, the tech guy and get that straightened out so we don't have these problems next month.
Ryan, give me 2 minutes. I'll send it to your personal address. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, that Gmail one will work good, and I can take a look at it. Thank you.
Give me 2 minutes.
All right. General public comment. General public, we have, 11, 2, 4, 5, 4 is 9, so there's 2 besides what's here. Does anyone have something they'd like to say? No.
Clarence, I just wanted to let you know this is Meredith. I'm on 7050, so I just joined the meeting.
Okay. All right. I have you as an M, so you're there. Okay, we're just we're in general public comment. Is there if there's anyone that wants to say anything, or feel free. If not, we'll get out of there. And we'll go to the consent agenda, approval of the minutes. We have the minutes of last month's meeting. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Move to approve the minutes by Eric. Is there a second?
I'll second, and I got all of those emails too. So.
Okay, you got them all now, right? Is that Ryan?
Yes, I'm sorry. This is Ryan, and I'll second that. And I have all of the emails and up to speed with you guys.
Okay, so you're seconding the motion to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion or question about the minutes? If not, all those in favor say aye or raise their thumb or wave or something.
Aye.
1, 2, 3.
Aye.
Aye. Meredith, where did you go? Are you an aye?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Thank you. Minutes approved unanimously, so declare it. We have the warrants 158 for I think I'm reading this right, $167,853.15. What's the pleasure of the board?
There's actually I'll move to approve. There's actually 3 warrants in there. I'll move to approve warrants 158, 155, and 160.
Okay. Is that figure the total for all 3 or just the total for 1? I have to look.
I don't know. The only one listed.
The most, that's for just for 1.
Yeah.
174, 853. All right, and then you include the other 2.
Yep.
All right. All right. I see on this one we have the town clerk for town meeting for $100.
Yep.
That should be shared, I think. Well, it should be. Well, it is. Yeah, Wells Springs. Okay. All right. I'm just. It looks like it's just for the town of Wells. When it's not, it's for Wells Springs. So it is. It is right to be on here. If there's no other questions to any of the warrants, Eric moved their adoption. Did I have a second?
I'll second that, Clarence.
Seconded by George. If there are no further questions or discussions, the motion is to approve all 3 warrants. All those in favor say aye or thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried, so declare it. All right. Superintendent's report.
All right, thanks, Clarence. I have a few things to discuss with you. So first, I just want to, this afternoon, I participated in a virtual Outstanding Teachers Day for the state of Vermont. As I was saying prior to the meeting, I felt bad for our 2 teachers that were recognized this year in the GRCSU because it is a very nice ceremony to have in person. But regardless, I want to recognize Christina Kerber from Poultney High School, as well as Courtney Elliott from Proctor Elementary School. Job well done. I think is a nice honor. I think they will have a copy of the recording. And like I said, I watched the ceremony, and I think what was said about both of our candidates was spot on. I think they did a phenomenal job, and just want to congratulate them. So, and hopefully next year that will be back to normal, and we can get up to UVM and be, I guess they receive these awards in person. So fingers crossed. Today was the final round of the COVID-19 surveillance testing that has been confirmed. That's due in large part to the number of staff members statewide that have been vaccinated. So today was the last day for us, at least. Our numbers were a little down. That's to be expected because we do have a large percent of our teachers who have received the vaccine. But once we have those results, we will share those. They have not decided in terms of what they're going to do in future. There have been some discussions about surveillance testing, if it would be, what that might look like in schools moving forward. But like I said, it will not be surveillance testing in May or June of this year. There is an update on vaccination. As you were aware, this past Monday, we had a good amount of our GRCSU teachers who were receiving their second dose of the vaccine, which did put us shift to remote because we couldn't adequately staff our buildings. Over the past 5 weeks, we've had our staff receive the Johnson & Johnson, I think it's Moderna, and the Pfizer. We were given 2 dates. One was the 15th of March for the Moderna and the Pfizer. I do believe, and the second date was the 22nd for Johnson & Johnson. But April 5th was the kind of the second shot for a lot of our staff members. We did have a good amount of staff members also take it upon themselves to schedule an appointment at Hannaford or Walgreens or Kenny Drugs or some of the other locations. But so as of this point, we should not have many interruptions, at least large scale interruptions due to vaccines for the remainder of the year. Testing window for the SBAC and the Vermont Teacher Science Association, which really is the VTSA, is more. We'll talk about that in a second, but Rick and Liz can also discuss their schedules. Has been begun this month. It will be extended through the end of the year. I know that there were some individuals who were a little upset that testing is still taking place. I think we look at it in terms of just provide us with an opportunity, particularly as we look at the recovery plan, give us some data just to take a look to see where our students are at, and also look at identify the areas of strength and area of needs, and start to build out a plan, not just for this year, but also for next year and years moving forward. So the ELA and math assessment will be given for students in grades 3 through 9, and then the VTSA, which is the Vermont Science Assessment, will be given students in grades 5, 8, and 11, but just impact Wellspring for grades 5. And like I said, if you have questions about the schedule, Rick and Liz can address that. I referenced the AOE Education Recovery Plan, and we discussed this at the GRCSU board meeting. So we currently are developing phase 1 of this plan. And phase 1, basically, just we're collecting a lot of data on a variety of levels. It allows us to develop a path or a plan moving forward, for not just this year, but next year and the year after, within 4 buckets, and that's social and emotional learning, the academic success, truancy and tardiness, and there's one of ours. And engage. So we have mental health and well-being. Sorry, it's been a long day. We have to submit our plan by the 15th. So during spring break, we will have some members of our team still meeting, finalizing the details to get that to the states. Once we have the data collected, we start looking at identifying the areas of concern, our areas of strengths, and we start developing strategies or actions or plans. It then moves us into the second phase, and the second phase is not due really until June 1st, but May 15th we should have actual steps in place. And the second phase basically allows us to just generate like an action plan. Schools will not have to do school-specific continuous improvement plans this year. We're doing a district-wide and SU-wide action plan for our students along those 4 buckets. So that's what phase 2 will be, more or less developing a district and an SU-wide action plan, to help our students with social and emotional learning, the academic success, the mental health and well-being, and the engagement and truancy. We will provide regular updates at each board meeting on this, both the local boards as well as the SU boards throughout the spring, through the summer, and then through next year, because this plan will take us through all the way through next year. And then in June, we'll probably reevaluate and see if there will be a year or two, just based upon the data we collect. All right. In your packets, I did include a draft copy of the GRCSU calendar. We'll discuss that later in the meeting. School meals, as you may know, that we are providing school meals for interested families for the spring break. So I know that Rick and Liz have had some families reach out to them. I don't know, I haven't seen their deadlines, but it may be too late. But if not, you just reach out to Liz or Rick. We can still try to figure something out for any interested family that would need meals during the break. And also, just on those same lines, we will be providing meals throughout the summer as well for any interested family, just as we did in the past summer. We'll be working on plans for that. And once we know what that's going to look like, Rick and Liz will release that information to families. All right. And lastly, I think this is kind of the big news that the state's kind of dealing with right now is Governor Scott yesterday released his Vermont Forward plan. It's kind of a 3-step or 4-step, if you include the 4th of July plan, which really looks at slowly, I guess, releasing the mitigation strategies that are currently in place. I know I've had a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls today from parents and from staff members. What does this mean? We are waiting for further guidance from the AOE in terms of, but as of right now, the education specific still remains independent. We do know that this will have an impact on our plans moving forward. I know that we'll talk about graduation a little bit later, what this means for graduations, end of the year plans to follow along those lines. But as I said before, I don't expect masks or social distancing to change. If there is a shift in social distancing, it'll be 6 to 3 feet. That's at the older kids level. But as I talked with Dr. Ciccarelli, our COVID-19 coordinator, our goal is to, if we can, to keep the 6 feet in place wherever we can. That we feel we've had a good plan in place for the remainder of the year, for the whole year, and as well for the remainder of the year. We want to continue with that, and then we'll build out our plans for the following year. So, any questions?
Where do you start? It's kind of a fluid situation, right? Change as we go along.
Yes.
As under his plan, is he dictating or strongly encouraging that everything is back at in-person learning?
I do
before the
believe
end of the year.
It depends on who you ask. It depends on the day. I think there is a strong push for return to in-person learning. It does not necessarily impact our schools, since we have at least 4 days a week we have in-person learning in place. I think you're looking at school districts that have larger student populations that have been going A/B days, or I know Rutland City is in a different situation than say we are, particularly with the high school kids. So they're looking to see what that it's like. I know that in the past 2 weeks when we had our call with Dan French, there was a strong recommendation and I think a softening of stance in terms of return in person. But like I said, I think it was more directed towards the schools that have much higher enrollment and have a difficult time with bringing students back in with social distancing. So
Just a little curious on what that's going to mean for Stafford, for us, our kids that we tuition to other schools that in turn go to Stafford beyond that, whether that schedule is how that's going to change, or if it is. I think that Stafford will probably follow the Rutland City schedule, whatever they come up with.
correct.
Because they're on that A/B type, every other day, every other week,
Correct.
which is hard to keep track of who's on first and who's whatever that saying is that I can't even repeat now. That's about what's going on.
Right.
Is there any other questions for Chris about any of this? We'll do the calendar later on in the meeting. Any other subject we want to? Hello, Courtney. Glad you could make it.
Sorry, I'm late.
No, that's not a problem. You're here. Okay.
I have a question. Chris, are we able to use any of the additional COVID funding to help with the HVAC issues going at Wells?
So we sat in a meeting today talking about ESSER funds, and we are working with Efficiency Vermont. It was explained to us today that Efficiency Vermont will be releasing additional funds and plans for us to really look at improving quality of our schools. And I think that's where the funds are really looking at, whether it be infrastructure or if it is about replacing, an air system in a building or HVAC system. We can look at whether or not we have the funding for that. But it has been discussed. And I think a lot of schools are looking at, I know the SU has received, I do believe it's $3.6 million for all schools. And we're currently looking at how best to use that in each of our schools.
Okay.
And it sounds
Right.
like a lot, but it goes quickly because I think right now we're having a bit of a cash grab where everybody's running, trying to get. So I think we have to really be intentional, and I think use this money wisely, not just throw money away. And I know Clarence discussed this at the GRCSU and about staffing, and we're not. If we would look at staffing, would it be additional, say, an interventionist? It would be something to build capacity, where we'd not be looking to add additional staff, and then at the end of the grant would just be put on local budget. We want to avoid that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And we will be working with the teachers and community on as we build out plans for using the money as well. That's part of the second phase.
I think it's important to with a lot of this money, there's a lot of projects like George suggested. This is like a one-time expense that is a good place to bring us up to speed without breaking the budget. So there's a lot of things like that I think we can think long and hard about. I think all of us are indirectly paying for a lot for heat, lights, and other things in buildings, and that whatever we can do to minimize that impact, I think makes sense with some of this money. So we'll go on from there. Okay, no other questions for the superintendent. Let's deal with the principal's report. Rick, I think you're up first this month.
All righty. Thank you. So my board report was in your packet. A few things to share. So just on the SBAC, we haven't set up a schedule yet, but I like to do it as late into May as possible. I've always felt very important to use the interims, the SBAC interims, which are these quick assessments that you can actually do with the students. You can actually put them up on the Promethean boards, the whiteboards, and you can actually go through the process with the students. It's a wonderful learning tool that the students, especially third graders who have never taken the SBAC before, have an opportunity to see the format, and you can have really rich discussions about these little interim assessments, which are a kind of breakdown of the major ELA math. So we'll be doing those, and we'll be doing SBACs. Like I say, we'll squeeze them in, but I want to use this time to make sure we get the interims in. I want to share that Liz can add too, but Wells and Middletown Springs have been collaborating with the AWARE grant. We're very fortunate. Wells, Middletown Springs, and Poultney have an opportunity for us to purchase some sensory items, which all tie into the AWARE grant of making a positive learning environment for students. We're able to, between the three schools, to purchase some wonderful items that I think will have a positive effect on the classrooms. We're also, Wells and Middletown Springs are working through the AWARE grant, which has a connection with Up for Learning, and we're doing Middletown Springs is doing 12 sessions called Mastermind Mentor Program, which kind of connects to restorative practices of having the students actively involved as partners with staff. This would be 4th, 5th, and this year's 6th graders. Going through the process of developing norms and creating this environment of respect and communication. And I think it's a very exciting program for both schools. Even though the 6th graders are not going to be here for next year to implement it, I think it's really important for them to be, it's like a legacy, because they really have been a model for the beginning of developing restorative practices. And, so it'll be a 12 session, 30 minutes, it'll be virtual, and this will carry on to next year's, and the students who will participate will be mentors for the younger students, and once again, school climate really is a major impact on academic success. Really excited that Middletown Springs and Wells are collaborating on the boys' velocity program. Eric and I are the coaches, and we have at least 2, I think 3 programs. It'll be a 6-week program, 3 activities that we'll be collaborating together. And I know my 10 boys are very excited about it. So it certainly has given them something to look forward to. And just quickly, part of the AWARE grant, some of us took suicide awareness training. Middletown Springs has done a program for staff, and I set up a program for parents. I'm going to try again, but if you're reading the news, that really the social emotional health of everyone definitely needs support right now, and it's a very difficult topic, but I think it's worth having. So that's it in a nutshell. Any questions?
Questions for Rick? If not, thank you. Liz?
Good evening, everyone. You have my report in your board packet, and Rick was able to highlight a lot of the things that I was going to share in our collaboration. I think we're very fortunate to be able to use some of the same things through the AWARE grant and to promote our social emotional learning, and looking at those upper grades and how things will make their way down to our youngest students in our school. So really excited to get that work going. We're going to do just a couple of fewer sessions with Mastermind Mentors. And that's, basically due to our SBAC schedule. So we're planned to start right after break and move so that there's time for makeups, wanting to make sure that remote students are able to participate as well. So that was our plan moving forward. So 3 through 6 will begin the SBACs with hopeful completion early May so that we have time. But I do completely agree with Mr. Beal. The interim assessments are very useful. You get a lot of information out of them as far as your own teaching practices, and to be able to show students, really the depth of what SBACs look like to support them through that is definitely worth the time. So we've done that in some capacity at Wells with more intentionality, as for next year for certain. I noted at the bottom of my report that we, back in the early fall, where we were awarded $3,400 from a grant that came from the state, and we used those funds to purchase a new stove, and hopefully we can the stove has arrived. We have to find a way to get it in, so when it at least impacts students. So we're looking at probably over the summer to get that in and up and functioning. Our current stove is fine, but we knew that we were going to be needing one in the near future. So we took the opportunity to use that grant to get that going. So, and also Rick had mentioned the suicide prevention. So as a staff, last week, our staff was presented with the information from You Matter, and we are looking to coordinate a parent night as well to share that information that we learned. So that's what I have. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay.
I have a question. You said Wells is participating in the Masterminds Mentor Program as well. Is that what grades is that? Is that for the same grades?
So we're going to do 4th grade and bring in our current 5th grade. And we're hopeful that we can get the 6th grade. We were talking about with Amy, and I think it was Leslie today, how to best support, a larger group, also with respect to COVID and wanting to make sure there's, safety and how we present that. But really it'll be focused on our 4th grade cohort, bringing in the 5th grade. And then if there's a way to weave in 6th grade, really looking at our student council students too, maybe if we can get some of them in there to just, be a part of that conversation. But they were very flexible with what we need and what we would like to do. So I'm positive we'll find some way. It's, a lot of scheduling too, not wanting to take students from other opportunities throughout the day. So it's just some finalize details, but we're really excited for the opportunity.
Sounds like a good program. And then you said for that stove, you said summer? Just,
So
just a minute ago?
arrived. Yeah, it's arrived. We had an issue with the shipping, so we have to. Mackenzie's working on. It came damaged, so we have to send it back. Get a new one. So we were hopeful it would have gone in over break, but we're not going to put in something that's not appropriate to put in at this moment. So we don't need it in the moment. We were going to replace it when it came in. So
over April vacation.
that was the hope.
Yeah.
But at this point, we have to wait for a new one to come back in. So it'll most likely be, right at the end of the school year.
All right.
It's an electric stove?
No. No.
Gas?
I believe it's very similar to the model we have. It's I'd have to get you the specifics, and I'm happy to do so.
The one that's there is gas. So.
Yeah, I believe that's what Lauren ordered.
Okay. It's just, was it purchased from?
I'd have to get you that information. I'm not certain at the moment, but I can certainly send that to you.
Okay, just curious. When damaged freight comes, it's usually the turnaround is usually quite rapidly, because I don't know, has the check been written to these people yet to pay for it wherever it was bought?
I'd have to follow up with Mackenzie. It was interesting how it came into the building. It was too big, so the couriers got it in the building, and when they put it in the multi, we were inspecting it, and there was a dent on it. So Mackenzie's working with the company to square it away and to get the right product as soon as possible. So she was working on that right after they left.
I mean, I was just, when something like that happens, and it does, it's really nobody's fault, but the most important thing is the check doesn't go out until it gets settled.
Great. I will follow up with Mackenzie, and I can email you.
Once that goes out, there's no leverage there. There's no rush to get anything done. They can point fingers forever. Oh, it was the freight company. No, it was received that way. You know, or the delivery people. Yeah.
So if I find out before the next board meeting, I'll update you via email, and if not, I'll report out then. For sure.
Email's fine.
Great.
All right. Thank you. Okay. That completes the consent agenda. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Ryan.
Ryan, seconded by Ryan. Eric made the motion. Any discussion or questions? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Wave their hand, something.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried, so declare it. All right. The next thing's finance, the sub-grant agreement. It was in your packet. This is just money. Leo's not here. Lewis is not here. It would be nice if we could call him on the road, just interrupt his supper to having to explain it, but I won't be that miserable.
You said you can be available in about 10 minutes if you want to just push this back and wait till you can come on. It's up to you.
No, it's just this is for an employee, right? Do you have summer food? But yes, summer food. This is Wells Springs runs the program. The money comes in to the supervisor union. It gets subgranted to us. The bill all gets paid, and then it goes back. It goes back to the SU, and they allocate the funds that we expended to cover it. This is just a grant that allows the federal money to flow from the GRSU that it was given to Wells Springs to spend, and then it's accounted for by us, and then the GRSU sends us the money to cover what we expended. But there has to be a grant contract in order for that to happen, to keep the federal government happy. It's one more line of paperwork that somebody has to account for and keep track of. And at least that's the way Lewis explained it at the GRSU meeting. So with that in mind, do we want to approve this grant, this sub-grant application agreement? I'll move that we approve it.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Meredith. Is there any questions, comments?
Clarence, so you're approving both of the agreements, correct? Just to clarify, because there were two in the packet.
Oh,
There was one for $1,127.65, CRF summer food. And then the second one was, let me just see here, was for $71,120.53. That's just or CRF LEA grants. It's the same thing you explained. It's just they're two different agreements. So
my intent is both of. Oh, all right. 71,000. I printed them both off, but when I was printing off this stuff, I was doing it fairly rapidly, so I missed that. So it's for both of them, but as Chris says, it's the same deal. It just authorizes us to spend money that'll get reimbursed out of the grant money. I think it's the ESSA funds, I think they're called, that comes to the supervisory union that pay for this. This is from last year. So my motion is for both of them. You agree with that, Meredith?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions?
No.
All right. If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carried, so declare it. All right.
we have no resignations, Clarence. So
Okay.
What?
we do not have any resignations.
We had one we had a paper that had one, and then we have a paper that says there are none.
None,
There was
yes.
an update, so we have no resignations for tonight,
Okay.
correct?
There's no resignations. All right. And non-union contracts, we don't have any of those. Don't have any new hires, right?
Correct.
And we have any old business? Is there any discussion or action on any item?
Clarence, in the packet, there were a list of contract recommendations, just so.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's probably. Okay, contract recommendation for meeting April 21. These is for recommended FY22. Okay, are all these numbers their current union interim support staff? Are all these numbers their current wages?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, because there's no contract settled for this past year, much less next year. So this is just so the contracts could go out. Now, are these contracts the same as teacher contracts that they're 2-year probationary agreements and then they're become more or less permanent, or does that not apply?
No, it does not apply.
That does not apply to these people. Okay. So what's the pleasure of the board for the support staff recommendations?
I'll move to approve the contract recommendations as presented.
Okay. By Eric. Is there a second?
I'll second.
No, sec-
Second. And that was
It's Amanda. I'm sorry. It's
Amanda. No, that's fine. Amanda seconded. Is there any discussion or questions?
I might have just missed it, but none of these are new positions, right? These are all.
I believe that these are all existing, right?
Correct.
As far as staff goes, okay. All right. Any other questions? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carried, so declare it. All right. Now, we'll need to, let's finish up with the extracurricular staff at the bottom that were Martha Camara, Contessa Selitsky, and Grace Hayes. 1515 and 1175. This is the after school assistant program. What's Liz, can you explain that a little bit?
Yes. Martha and Contessa are subs, and Grace Hayes is a 4-day-a-week employee. So the other two are to be used as subs if there was a need, so that we could keep the program open.
Okay. How long Grace worked here? Is she a new
Just started.
employee?
Yeah, we'll have just started.
What are those hours? 4 days a week?
If they're there the entire time, 3 to 5:30. Could be any variation of time in between, though.
I don't know for a fact, but I'm surprised that she's not very involved with the softball team.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Very enthusiastic. So we're hopeful to have her on.
I just wonder how she's going to be able to accomplish both. I guess that.
I agree, and we'll support her with what she wants to do. So.
All right. So, all right. I just wonder about that. Okay. So what's the pleasure of these three? Pleasure of the board. Approving these amounts for these people.
Move to approve.
You move to approve. Who would like the second?
I'll second.
And you are?
Courtney.
Courtney. Okay, thank you. Your picture advantage just no there. So, all right, motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carried, so declare it. the professional staff expiring contract recommendation or renewal for Martha French. Was she new this year? Or has she been here 2 years?
No, she joined us the fall.
Basically started in December.
Yeah.
It's one that we finally found an art teacher to take the position.
Okay. And so this is the same art position for next year
Correct.
that we're recommending?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board on that, extending that contract for FY22?
I'll move to approve the
I'll
contract.
second.
Seconded by Meredith. Any discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carried, so declare it. We have some other contracts to just talk about briefly that we'll need to do an executive session for just a minute later on, but not too involved, but we'll get to it. That was old business. All right. New business. New business is teacher appreciation. Eric sent out an email to everybody. Eric and I met, and Amanda and Eric met, and we came up with 2 or 3 different ideas and come with, well, go ahead, Eric. You can explain it as well as anybody.
So yeah, in the email I sent, basically we came up with what we recommend is 2 items, and there's a link for all 3 of them in there. And we chose these items because they were different from last year and relatively inexpensive, even combined. And it's kind of makes like a great all around, for preference. And price wise, we can keep it, under $500, but until we have the final numbers for all the staff, it's just kind of an estimate. And then the 3rd item that I put in there was, it's similar to what we did last year, but we just threw it in there as like another option so people can make up their own minds on exactly what they like. And I also kind of just like last year just came up like a draft letter for teachers and staff that anyone is free to add, change. We can come up with something from the whole board.
Everybody get Eric's email that has a connection for those things?
Yes.
Yeah, I vote for option 1 because I like the fact that it's different from last year, and I think it looks more involved.
Okay. To get this to be done timely so we can have it to them at Teacher Appreciation Day, which is the beginning of May, or it's actually the day of our next meeting. So we put something together that I think the first option is fine, which is option is a pen or pencil pen with a inscription on it, with a note on it, and a tote bag that says something, that are 2 items that go together that are different than the mug that we used last year, which was what we recommend to the board. Hopefully the whole board can approve that tonight so we can go ahead and do it unless there's some opposition.
The only thing we need to come up with is what we're gonna have, what we want to have engraved on each thing.
Are you doing, this is Ryan talking, do you usually have it all engraved the same thing, or is it personalized per
All the
teacher?
same thing.
So
But
would
we
it just be the school?
Wells Springs teacher appreciation in the year, something like that. Just, I forget. Anybody have their mug left from last year? What it's? Does somebody know what it says on it?
I thought we said like thank you from the Wells Springs Unified District Board or something like that last year.
Hang on a second, I'll get.
Okay, Rick. Okay. I forget exactly what we came up with, but Amanda, I believe it's something like that. Ryan, we've kind of fallen down and not done anything for years, and we just thought it's appropriate that we really ought to be doing something. Eric brought it to our attention.
I agree. I think it's great.
Go ahead, Rick.
So thank you, Wellspring School staff, for all you do from the Wellspring School Board Spring 2020.
Hey, Clarence, I don't know if this is possible or not, but can we talk about it in executive session so that we have some sort of a surprise for them? Or is that not a possibility?
We won't tell, we promise.
We'll hitch it on to the. We have to discuss the number of staff that we're going to be needing to purchase this for. So that probably might be a good point where we could talk about exactly what it would be legally to answer your question.
Okay.
That's a way around accomplishing what you're asking for, I believe. So we'll save the final decision on that till we come out of executive session. That sound good to everybody? All right.
Sounds good.
So teacher appreciation, end of year graduations. Chris brought it up.
So
go ahead.
I just know that there obviously, as we move towards the end of the year, there are a lot of questions and concerns about what graduation, the end of the year things will look like. I know that Rick and Liz could talk a little bit more about this, but with the the Vermont Forward Plan and what that will do for AOE, I do anticipate being able to move towards a more traditional graduation at the end of the year, but we'll have to wait and see what that's going to look like. I know, as I said before, talk with the Corey Valley High School principals, looking at doing an outdoor ceremony where you can have, I think, as of right now, the Vermont Forward Plan, I think it's up to 900 people can be outdoors, and that's in addition to any number of vaccinated. So it's 900 unvaccinated people, according to this Vermont Forward Plan. So the indoors gets a little bit trickier just because of vaccinated versus unvaccinated. So I do think that's something which, as we hopefully will have some more guidance this by Friday this week, and then as the weeks go on, I'm sure we'll see more about what end of the year looks like. But it is a step in the right direction for those looking for to kind of a getting away from the fear of a virtual graduation. We can move more towards an in-person, but it might be more of an outdoor ceremony. But so Rick and Liz could talk a bit more about what their thoughts are. But like I said, this just happened yesterday, so we really haven't even had a chance to kind of just mobilize and kind of take a look at. But as Clarence, you said earlier, it is a very fluid situation.
Yep. All right. We'll kind of table that until we have more information, which would be the next couple months. Things will be forming up better to know what's going on. That indoor thing is complicated in the number of square feet and the number of people with the distancing, and then you can have a few extras as long as they maintain the space, as long as they're vaccinated.
Right.
That's
So-
a mess before you start.
So if we look at currently step 3 of the Vermont Forward Plan states that indoor can be 1 unvaccinated person per 50 square feet, up to 300 plus any number of vaccinated people. So it really would be us taking a look at, and this is obviously optimistic, if things continue to track positively. But so I mean, Rick and Liz and myself and Scott and Dr. Ciccarelli can really kind of go through and just take a look at both an indoor and outdoor to see what's possible. And Rick and Liz do a great job of keeping their parents informed on a weekly basis as well. But I think we can just continue to give them updates. And I really think by the next board meeting, we'll have a more clear picture in terms of where we're at.
I was just thinking both our cases, Wells and Middletown, the square footage are if 50 square foot per person, we're limited because we don't have a big enough space just to start with. That would be really limiting the numbers. Meredith, you had a point you wanted to raise?
Yeah, so I know it sounds extravagant, but is renting a tent an option? Are you using any of those funds that are one-time expenses? And this is also like a special COVID-related occasion?
Yes, I think that we're going to discuss that in our admin team meeting tomorrow about tent rentals that would be covered. It was covered last year. I know some schools were able to. The problem will be just whether or not we can get a company or just get enough tents by this time, because there'll be a bit of a grab for them. So it's just
Yes, there will be a large demand, but I know there are some around. So
correct. So we'll start. Rick, after tomorrow's admin team meeting, I'll start meeting with the building admins personally, and we'll start getting the numbers and holding reservations for things that we can, both an indoor and an outdoor.
That might make sense to just go ahead and plan the outdoor and
Yep.
get the tent and deal with it, so you don't have to cancel or change plans at the very, very end, and yet you can accomplish things. Makes sense to me.
Correct.
They'll be working on that. The next thing on our yes, Eric.
I was just gonna say I don't know how Middletown usually does, but Wells usually has the graduation outside. Most of it. So
my gut feeling is have it outside, use the bank on the end for people to sit on. Then you could have people around that need to sit in chairs and have a raised deck. And I think you could have a wonderful, and you could actually sitting on the bank, you could actually have a better view of the kids. And we just need to get the microphone system. So
Yeah,
that's my gut feeling right now.
yeah. If there is like limited capacity, I mean, could it be limited to like just parents? I would imagine. At least
if it's outside, there's not going to be a big problem, because those numbers, 50 feet, and that were for inside.
Right.
I don't know.
Outdoors, like I said, it says 900, so we can get the whole town out there if we'd want. But it does say mask and physical distancing required when the presence of those outside your household. So we still have to take a look at. There will still be some distancing requirements. We've done it before. I think it's like I said, we can walk the fields and take a look at what that look like. I don't think there'd be a problem getting as many family members that would want to attend in our outside facilities. I think it'd be fun.
Rick, would Middletown have a maximum 100, 150 people? Previous graduations? If I had to guess.
Chairs, yeah, it fills up. We have like 100 chairs, around 100 normally, I guess.
Yeah, so it's not beyond possibility, So
Are we going to have a mask patrol?
Are you volunteering, George?
I would, because I've done it up at the mountain, and it's just a consideration. If we make it clear from the start that masks are required, and you show up without one, we may have to get some disposable ones to hand out. I'd be happy to do it.
That'd be great. I definitely think that'll be part of our plans. And I think that, I mean, you look at July 4th, we're moving to a mask and physical distancing is encouraged. We're not there yet. So so really in June, we're still, masks and physical distancing are still required. And like I said, this is the plan for business sectors. We're still waiting to see what the education aspect of this looks like. And like I said, I don't anticipate masks being taken off the plates for this year, and to be honest, even for next year. I think it's a part of our immediate future. So, but I do think we had that. I know at the high schools last year we did have sheriff's department assisting, but we found that most people have been compliant. I know even when we look at sporting events, people have been great, but we did have to remind people, hey, we just need to mask up. And when they think of it's for the kids, they're pretty good. I think people, but we have extra masks here at central office. We just received a whole new supply, so we can really look at even just working with Liz and Rick and Jackie, just making sure we have extras as well, just to hand on that day.
Yeah, and most of the people up at the mountain are thankful. Thanks for reminding me. But we need to plan for it, and I'd be glad to help it at either school. So,
thanks, George.
Okay, you must have a heavy down there in Wells that can take care of that.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. Everybody has been great. So yeah,
Clarence,
we can figure it out.
Clarence, I think they need somebody from outside of Wells, so that's where I would fit perfect.
Oh, that's where you'd go first.
Yeah. Who's that guy?
We bring Eric up to Middletown to harass the people up here.
There we go. There we go.
It is as good of an idea as that is. I don't know if it might send a bad message having board members police that, though. I mean, having someone designated to do it is a great idea, but maybe having board members, doing that, I don't know if that would be.
Well, I look at it as a school policy, and all we're saying is, hey, this is a policy that needs to be enforced.
Okay.
And unfortunately, we're going to have to wear our own mask.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We can be good examples. And one of the funny things about up at the mountain is it has to be an employee that tells people or someone associated with the mountain. So, and we are. So I'm comfortable doing it.
Where it's going to, I think where you may get some pushback is I got this little piece of paper that says I've had both my shots and that I am, I'm, I don't know, whatever you call it.
You can,
not in need of as much protection.
But you can still carry. I mean, you could carry the variant. So it's to protect everybody else. That's, that should be our party line.
I'm sure of it. All right. The GRSU calendar that Chris referred to. Any more on that? It's in their packet, neatly color coded. It calls for 5 in-person days, half a day early dismissal on Wednesdays. I think I read the calendar right. Any questions or comments about it?
Ooh.
Our volunteer fire department on the way someplace.
I see next year in June graduation for the West Rutland High School, Poultney High School, Proctor High School. Is Do the schools usually figure out the graduation dates for the 6th grade later in the school year? Okay.
Yeah. Traditionally,
yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Liz.
I was just say that's what I was waiting, to see what everyone else does. So then, Rick and I hadn't discussed who was going to do what on what date, but just for flexibility of everybody.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if it has always been planned ahead that far. That's why I asked.
You're looking to fit it in as soon as once you knew what everybody else was doing, right?
Makes sense.
The only other thing I think I have to caution you about is that in the case of a lot of Middletown students is you have to dodge Mill Rivers too, because sometimes we've had Middletown's graduation and their siblings are graduating from high school the other side of the hill, and that's really not, in a normal year, not fair to parents and grandparents. So have to wind up split up for those deals. But I think that's where we're tuitioning the majority of our students, and Long Trail plays into that too. Mary, does Long Trail have traditional graduation about the same time?
I think they're earlier. So I don't know where the calendar is right now. I mean, I can look, but maybe it's already on my calendar. It's generally earlier.
Okay, so it probably won't be a conflict. Any other
Yeah,
discussion?
I think we only have one student graduating next year. Anyways.
Okay, we have. Are there any other comments or questions on the calendar? If not,
Are we planning the next like the next round of COVID stuff? I know that kind of right now they're saying 6 months, some things are saying a year. Are we waiting to see where we're at with
What do you mean, Amanda, by that?
like as far
Next
as
round of COVID?
as far as like planning, like if we will need to plan to like go remote just to get all the teachers out of the way, are we planning like an additional remote day kind of SU wide for when everyone hits like that 6 month mark?
You're talking about with vaccines. We're waiting to get more information on what the vaccination schedule will look like moving forward. And I think it's going to be probably very similar to flu shots, where I think once we have the schedule, we'll take a look at it and see what's going on. So I don't know. And if there are, what happened on April 5th should not have happened. The state, when I spoke with them, they apologized that they really were supposed to stay away from school days in terms of during the school hours. But they want to get people vaccinated. That's the important thing. So, next year we may have a day where but I also know people who had flu shots who felt sick after flu shots. So it does happen. So I think, I think that's just going to be a norm, that we'll have just vaccination dates. And I think people will be more of a rolling next year as opposed to these mass days where GSSU. So I think they'll have more of a rolling plan, similar to what we have with their flu shot.
okay. So that's still up in the air. Is to answer your question, Amanda, we just don't know what that's going to look like till we get down the road a ways, what the state's going to do or not do. I do know the push is to be in person in September, unless something else comes up. That's the goal.
So I will say right now, our plan, I've spoken with the association leadership about this as well. Our plan for next year is to be in person. We will not have a remote option in place like we had this year. So we will be in person, and we'll, if a family wants to go remote, we can assist them with finding resources, but we will not have a virtual academy or similar to what we've had this year, but we will be back in person in the fall. So, and we'll have more information, but that's our plan for next year right now. That's what we're going with, unless we're mandated otherwise.
If someone wants to do homeschooling, they're more than welcome to, and there is a program that they can attach themselves to accomplish that. But they should know in plenty of time that that's what's going on. That's what the adoption of this calendar helps accomplish. All right.
Too early to ask about sports and fundraising and all that other normal stuff?
I think their goal would be to have as normal of a year as possible moving into next year. I think you look at July 4th, it'll be interesting to see what happens July 4th. I mean, like I said, July 5th, we're still going to be dealing with COVID within our communities, but so I think this spring will be a bit of a litmus test for how we proceed. But from what I've heard from discussions with people who are VPA, that their goal really is next fall to there'll be some alterations, but to get back to as normal as possible in our schools. With the hope that all students, or majority of students, will be vaccinated. That's all staff, just go regular. So that is the goal.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. The policies.
Did I miss the board retreat? I'm sorry, Clarence. Did I miss?
Oh, I'm sorry. The board retreat is that we put on the agenda to now. Hopefully, we'd find out what's going on. I think it would be best if we wait and see what they come out with for recommendations from the state. It would be nice when we have at a board retreat if we could all if we could all get together someplace legitimately in the same room, even if we have to wear a mask, if we could have a board meeting, because that's the retreat, kind of just discuss stuff informally, and everybody has a input on what's going on and what they want to accomplish and why and so forth. I don't know if the GRSU is going to have any retreat or anything this year. My belief is we could definitely use it because there's a lot of new people around that it would help if everyone could be exposed to a lot of stuff. But that's what I was thinking when I skipped over it, Aaron. Or Eric, I meant to mention it, but I thought we'd have a better idea of what's going on next month. But maybe someone else wants to go ahead and plan something now, or
No, I agree with you. I think we skipped it over last month because we were waiting for further information on reopening, and we can just do the same. And who knows, maybe in June or July we can plan it for August or something to actually meet in person. So
yeah,
I'm all for waiting.
I mean, there aren't a lot of days, but I myself would like, unless somebody is really tied up, I think a Saturday afternoon potluck, you could probably get a lot of discussion done and not be too late and not ruin everybody's weekend completely.
Yep.
That's what we did when we had one a couple of years ago. We could, we've had them that were just at a meeting, that were part of a meeting and we had somebody come and lead them. So a couple different ways of doing it, but anybody else has any other thoughts on it? We could look at, try to form something up one way or the other, even if it's pickup day in late June after graduation and before 4th of July starts. I mean, that's kind of wrapping up the end of summer before everybody's leaves on vacation. I don't know if our principals are going to have got anything planned to be away Rick's got a country to ski across, but can't do that in the summer, right?
That's the reality.
You're still going to do that, aren't you?
I am. That's get back to normal here. Yes, definitely.
I could. Some of the new members probably don't realize that Rick was planning on taking a few days to cross some country with his sons, cross country skiing.
Cross Finland. So
it was going to take more than a week. More power to him. Okay. If no one else has anything, we'll just plan on the retreat, more formal discussion next month when we have more information on what the rules are for getting together.
Clarence, should we schedule a date maybe in August sometime when we're gearing up for next school year? And then hopefully by that point we could use either of the multi-purpose rooms. If we had to meet inside, if it's nice, we could be outside.
Yeah, we could.
Well, I think we got to wait and see if we can even use the schools before we commit to any kind of date.
So Eric, I would anticipate, because they're talking about summer rec programs, will be allowed to use the schools. So I don't think it'd be an issue for us to use like a multi-purpose room or a gym or space like that in August. So just projecting forward, just looking at what the summer is going to look like for our schools.
Why don't George? Would you like to contact Chris and Liz and Rick and the board members and kind of fish around and put a date or 2 dates together so it steer around any vacation they have planned for families or whatnot, so we can get away from them, and you come up with a recommendation for a date at our next meeting.
Okay.
Because we could work on it here, but it could take quite a while, and everybody may not know their schedule yet on what they plan to do. But I don't want to plan it so somebody has to change their vacation plans if we can help it. Rick could probably join us remotely from Montana if that's where he is, but he usually makes a summer pilgrimage there once in a while, I believe. So we'll and I don't know what he's planning, so check with him and work around that. And Chris may be ready for at least a day or two's vacation this summer. He's ready for one now. He just can't take it yet. That's all. And Liz too. So if you want to check with people and board members on what their summer plans are on how that might fit into, if you could block off some calendar and get down to pick a couple dates that make sense, and then we can go from there where people can block off the date and not get tied up. So if you could take care of that.
Okay, we'll do. And we're looking like mid to late August.
That's fine, or whatever works. The last half of June, the middle of July, it's whenever people are going to be around, and can do it. You can figure that out. August is fine, but everybody needs to be buy into it.
Yes.
So,
yep.
So let's move on to the policies. You have 4 policies in front of us that we had there for the second reading. That means they've been here and you've commented on them if you wanted to. You could look at them, gone back and policy committee has vetted these and looked up the language in all of them and updated some before you saw it the first time that needed some pressing to be coherent now, or up to date with what's going on. So, what's the pleasure of the board on this? Someone would like to move their adoption?
So moved.
So move their adoption by Eric. Is there a second? Was that a second, George?
Yes.
Yes, seconded by George. Any discussion or questions on any of them? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carried, so declare it. We have the policy committee meeting on the 27th. I think it's a date for the first policy meeting. We have quite a few new policy committee members this year, but Eric and I forget who's the number, who else is on from here.
I am Ryan.
Brian?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a link there for a virtual meeting at 6 o'clock. I think 6 to 7:30 is what the scheduled to look over the policies that we have on the agenda for that meeting. I'll be chairing that committee again this year. So that's on policies. Executive session for personnel matters. I'll move that we move into executive session. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Amanda.
Seconded by Amanda. Move into executive session for personnel. We'll have Chris, Liz, and Rick join us. There we go. We got the red button on. Future meeting is May 5th. And we have any other lawful business that we need to do at this point? If not,
I just have one thing to say about the letters, and I don't know how many there would be, but would they be personally signed by board members? A board member?
I think we could leave them to be signed by all board members. What do you think, Eric? I think that would be a nice touch. But it would have to be copy signatures because we wouldn't expect someone to sign 50 times. But
We can do anything. I would imagine that obviously signing one and then just having it copied would be the best way to go. Last year we kind of rushed to get it done, so there wasn't anything signed last year. But
I don't have a problem with putting signature block on it for all of us to sign. I think that makes sense.
Okay. I think it would be a little more personal. So
I agree. I like that idea.
Okay, so you get that drafted up, and we'll get it signed however you want. Actually, we could all email you our signature on one of those, and you could cut and paste them into place on the letter.
Yeah,
that would work too. So we all haven't got to get to one place and scramble around. We could you send it out, we could sign it, scan it back, and mail it back to you, even though it's just our own each one, and you could copy or cut and paste it together. I'm sure you can make that work.
Just make sure that it's not on lined paper, just white sheet of paper and dark ink, and I should be able to do something with it.
Or Eric, if you put it together and email it out, they can scan it and email it back to you so that it fits in the space.
Yeah,
One way or the other.
one way or the other.
As long as we get it to you, whatever you think works for you, go ahead and do. All right.
Yep.
Who would like to make that favorite motion tonight?
Ryan.
Ryan is
Sorry, my little girl is on my arm waiting for me to tuck her into bed, so I will make the motion to adjourn.
okay. And you're before I get a second that happens, one thing I wanted to I got the Vermont School Board Association newsletter today in the mail. Every board member should get it. If you didn't, contact Chris and he can look into it, or contact the VSBA, which is it's Vermont VT VSBA.org, and you should be able to get it. And there's a lot of information on that website that you really would be good to look at. And someone like to second the motion to adjourn.
I'll second. It's Amanda.
Amanda seconding the motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Those opposed? No one's opposed, therefore we're adjourned.